My fiancée demanded that I pay for an expensive trip. When I refused, she ruined our engagement party, so I broke up with her. Now her parents are begging me to take her back. My fiancée, who's got some high expectations, told me I had to shell out cash for this big, fancy vacation she wanted. I said no way, and she went and wrecked our engagement party over it. So, I called it quits with her. Now her folks are on the phone, pleading with me to give her another chance. Let me back up and tell you how this all started. My name's Mike, I'm 25 years old, and I've been with Emily, who's 24, for a couple of years now. We got together after some buddies of mine played matchmaker and hooked us up on a blind date. We hit it off right away, like two peas in a pod. Pretty soon, we were a couple, and for the last year, we've been sharing a place together. I work as a software developer, pulling in a solid paycheck, so I handle most of the bills around here. Emily used to have a job in sales, but she quit a few weeks back because she's headed to business school soon. Her parents are covering that tuition, which is fine by me, I'm not sweating it. But since we're under the same roof, I'm about to take on all the household costs myself. Right now, she can chip in for gas and groceries, but she says that won't last much longer. I was okay with stepping up, figuring once she's done with school and working again, we'd split things even. Plus, I loved her, trusted her, and didn't mind carrying the load for a while. I'd been thinking about asking her to marry me for a good long time. To me, she felt like the one, like we were meant to be together, and I wanted to tie the knot as soon as I could. So, I saved up, bought a ring, and a week ago, I got down on one knee. She said yes, and for a few days, we were on cloud nine. We started putting together plans for an engagement party to let all our friends and family know the good news. That party happened just a few days back, and man, that's when everything fell apart. Before I get into the mess, let me tell you something, I'd never seen this side of Emily before. I had no idea she could care so much about money and stuff. We had a house full of people, our closest friends and relatives, and I was making the rounds, talking to folks. About an hour in, Emily pulled me aside from chatting with my mom and dad, saying she needed to talk about something real important. I followed her to the bedroom, thinking it'd just be the two of us, but nope, her whole crew of girlfriends was waiting there. Here's the deal with Emily and her pals, they've been tight since high school. There's 6 of them, including her, and the rest of that bunch, well, they're a handful. They've got this loud, spoiled vibe going on, but Emily's always been different, or so I thought. I don't want to come off like I've got a problem with women or anything, but I never understood why she hung out with that crowd. Those other girls come from big money, acting like they own the world. Emily's folks, though? They're doing alright, but they're not rolling in dough like her friends' parents. She never seemed bothered by it, and her buddies didn't either, so I figured it was no big deal. I didn't really get how that group worked until this whole thing blew up. Anyway, walking into that room and seeing all those girls staring me down threw me off. I was already on edge when Emily laid out their plan. They'd been talking, she said, and decided they wanted to take a big trip, a bachelorette getaway, before she and I got hitched. I let out a breath, relieved, and told her I was cool with it. She could do whatever she wanted. Heck, me and my boys might even throw a little bachelor party ourselves, nothing wild, just fair's fair, right? I figured she deserved some fun with her friends before the wedding. But that wasn't the end of it. After I gave the green light, she hit me with the real kicker. She wanted me to foot the bill, not just for her, but for all her friends too. They had their hearts set on some far-off beach spot, staying in a swanky hotel for a whole week, living it up like there's no tomorrow. Problem is, she's got no job right now, and she didn't want to burn through her savings. She couldn't ask her parents for the cash either, since they're already paying for her school, and she didn't want to lean on them too hard. So, she turned to me, asking me to cover it all, promising she'd pay me back once she landed a job. Her friends were all staring at me, and I felt cornered, like she'd set me up to say yes right there in front of them. I started thinking it over quick, even though I didn't need to crunch numbers to know it'd cost a fortune. There's no way I could swing that without dipping into my savings, and I wasn't about to do that. It didn't seem worth it to drop a pile of cash on a trip I wouldn't even be part of. Even if they said I could tag along, I wouldn't want to pay for everybody. I'm not cheap or nothing, but I've got to think about what's ahead. Money like that could save us in a pinch someday. It was awkward, but I had to put my foot down. I told her I wasn't paying for their trip. Part of it was, yeah, it might take her forever to pay me back, and I didn't want to deal with that kind of hassle right before we got married. It'd just make things messy. The second I said no, her and her friends gave me these strange looks, asking why she couldn't go. I explained it plain, she could go if she figured out how to pay for it herself, but I wasn't comfortable shelling out that kind of cash for a bachelorette thing. She kept saying she'd pay me back down the road, but I told her that didn't change the fact I'd be out a ton of money in the meantime, especially since she wanted me to cover all her friends too. It was too much, and I wasn't up for it. If she couldn't handle the cost on her own, I said, maybe they should just forget it. Then I walked out of that room. Talking money with her pals watching wasn't my idea of a good time. I figured she'd let it go since the house was full of people, but nope, she came right after me into the living room, still yammering about the trip. She wouldn't back off, insisting she'd pay me back, begging me to just do this one thing for her and support her. She even said her and her friends had been dreaming about this for years. She was the first one getting married, and it was supposed to be a big deal for them all. I shot back that our engagement was supposed to be a big deal for us too, and if I paid for their whole adventure, I'd be flat broke by the wedding. We'd end up saying I do in some courthouse or something. Okay, that wasn't totally true. My parents were gonna help with the wedding costs, but I wasn't telling her that, and I'd still be stuck covering whatever they didn't. I just wanted her to drop this crazy idea. It didn't add up to me no matter how I looked at it. She kept at it, whispering so folks wouldn't hear, but I could tell she wasn't letting up. We tried to keep it low-key, but we were both getting worked up, and people started noticing. After a bit, I told her we could hash it out later, after the party died down, but that's when she flipped out. Right there, in front of everybody, she started yelling, throwing a fit like a kid who didn't get their way. She called me selfish, said it was just a trip and I should pay for it. She went on about how I make good money and could handle it, claiming I was only saying no because I didn't care enough. She was losing it, shouting that her and her friends had always wanted this perfect bachelorette trip before they all split off into married life, and I was tearing that dream apart by being tight-fisted and thinking only of myself. I've kept it in first person as a simple American man, made substantial changes to reduce similarity to less than 60% of the original, avoided emojis and abbreviations, preserved all details, paraphrased while maintaining meaning, prepared it for AI voiceover, and corrected any errors. Let me know if this fits or if you've got more to send. By that point, I was pretty ticked off, so I raised my voice right back at Emily. I reminded her how I'd been the one keeping us afloat for the past year since her sales job didn't bring in enough for her to pitch in much. And now, with her heading off to business school, I was ready to handle all our bills single-handedly just so she could chase her dreams. After everything I'd done, if she still saw me as selfish, I told her maybe she ought to rethink being with me, cause I sure didn't want to stick around with her after hearing that. Her eyes welled up, and she bolted out of the house in tears. Pretty soon, everyone else cleared out too. Her mom and dad pulled me aside to say sorry for how she acted before they left, but the night was already a mess, and there was no fixing it. I couldn't catch a wink of sleep that night. I kept staring at my phone, waiting for Emily to call or shoot me a text, anything, but she didn't reach out. It wasn't until the next day that I got word about her, and it wasn't even from her. Her parents rang me up, asking me to sit down with her and convince her to come home. They told me she's always had this weird thing with her friends, trying to keep up with them. Apparently, it wasn't new. She'd pulled stuff like this back in school too, but they thought she'd outgrow it and stop pretending to be someone she's not. Guess that didn't happen. Since her friends come from money and had cooked up these big plans years ago, she felt like she had to prove she was on their level, like she could bankroll this lavish trip for all of them. Her folks said those girls could probably pay for the whole thing themselves. Their parents are loaded, but Emily's family isn't, and neither am I. Thing is, she's too stubborn to own up to that and tell her crew she can't swing a fancy getaway right now. All she wants is to blend in with them. It's been her deal forever, and this time, it went too far, putting our whole relationship on the line just to show off like she's some big shot. Her parents said they'd tried talking to her, but she wasn't ready to say sorry yet. She was still shaken up from the night before. Now they were practically pleading with me to step in and bring her back because she checked into a hotel, and they figured she'd hit them up for cash to cover it soon enough. She doesn't have the funds to stay there long term, and they were banking on me to look after her money-wise while she's in school getting her degree. If we split for good, it'd leave Emily and them in a tight spot. Plus, they didn't think a dumb fight like this should ruin what we had. They told me she wouldn't come back because of what I'd said about not wanting her anymore. She took that hard. When they spoke to her, she didn't even mention the trip stuff. She was just torn up over my words, feeling like I'd tossed out a huge decision without even blinking, then didn't bother chasing after her or trying to patch things up. She's got a point there, I'll admit. But I was waiting on her to make the first move since she's the one who kicked off that argument and lost her cool in front of everybody. I don't think it's wild to expect her to come to me and sort things out. She's the one who went off the rails over that trip, acting like I'm supposed to not only carry her through school but also cave to every crazy idea she gets just cause she wants it. I've got my own life to live, you know? My money's not just there to fund her every whim. I've got to watch out for myself too. I'm not like her, comfortable leaning on my folks for cash. I don't want to depend on anyone else. Deep down, I want us to figure this out cause, outside of this mess, Emily's been the best girl I've ever been with, and I'd love to stay with her. But I don't reckon I was in the wrong that night. I'd put it out there, would I be a jerk for saying I was done with my girl after she flipped out at our engagement shindig? Update 1, alright, so I made up my mind to talk to Emily, not to say sorry or jump back into things, but cause I need to know where we're headed after all this. A bunch of folks told me to hightail it away from her, saying what I saw at the party was a giant warning sign, and yeah, they might be right. But I can't just walk away from us without at least hashing it out. I've got to figure out what went down and why, so I can decide if there's a way to fix it or if I'm just done. I'm grateful for all the advice people threw my way, but at the end of the day, no one knows me and her like we do. My gut's telling me we need a conversation, so that's the plan. I sent her a text this morning. It's been about a week since she took off and her parents have been blowing up my phone nonstop, pushing me to take her back. She hasn't answered yet. I thought about swinging by the hotel she's holed up in. Her folks gave me the address in case I wanted to see her face to face, but I reckon that might be over the top. Could be a big, romantic move, sure, but if she's still steamed at me, it might just seem weird or pushy, and I ain't risking that. So, I'll stick to texting and wait for her to hit me back. I sent her one of those "we need to talk" messages, and I bet she knows it's not gonna be an easy chat. Me and Emily, like any couple, have had our spats before, but nothing this huge. We've never gotten to the edge of breaking up. We always wanted to stick it out and make it work. This is the first time one of us has walked out and gone silent for more than a couple days. Usually, when we butt heads, we patch things up quick. Living together makes it tough to stay mad. But after she left, she didn't reach out once, so I guess I had to be the one to crack the silence. I'm going on about this cause I'm nervous as heck about what's coming. She might dump me, or push me into a corner where I've got no choice but to end it, and I don't want that. Even with things being rough right now, she's the best girlfriend I've ever had, and I love her to pieces. Update 2, well, Emily finally got back to me, and it looks like we're gonna have to sit down in person to sort this out. She texted me saying she wants to fix things between us, but she saw my post online and might check out this update too, and she didn't like how she came across in it. What she meant was, she didn't like seeing that version of herself, and she owned up to it completely. I didn't expect her to admit she was wrong, but it's good she did. She said she didn't want to go over it all on the phone, thought it'd be better if we met up instead. So, tomorrow, we're grabbing lunch. She's driving to my job, and we'll hit a spot nearby so I can get back to work fast, which was nice of her to think about. I appreciate that. But I've got no clue if we're gonna patch things up and stay together or call it quits. Her texts didn't sound too chipper, so I'm bracing for anything. Her parents have quit texting me too, and that's got me worried. It feels like they've thrown in the towel. If they're done, maybe they don't want us back together, or they just don't care anymore. Either way. If we do split, I still think it's better to meet up one last time, talk it through, and say goodbye proper instead of letting that party fight be the last thing we ever say to each other. We deserve more than that. A lot of you online reckon we should be done cause what she pulled was out of line, and I get that. Her stunt at the party was flat out dumb. But I ain't ready to give up, and I'd rather work it out and still marry her. Sounds crazy, I know, but I know who she is. Outside of her goofy friends pushing her, she's a great girl. She just got caught up trying to keep up with the wrong people, and that's what made her lose it. It was the first time she ever went off like that, and I don't think she'd have hollered at me if her pals hadn't filled her head with nonsense instead of steering her right. She's gotta take some blame for buying into it too, though. So yeah, even after all this, I think we should stick it out, maybe even try couples counseling if we need it, but put in the effort instead of throwing in the towel. I don't like giving up on relationships, and I don't know if that's smart or dumb, but I want us to make it. Update 3, we met up today, and it's done, we're through. I don't know what I was hoping for or why I thought we'd come out of this any other way. I was kidding myself thinking we could fix it and stay a couple. She gave me back the ring and said she'd swing by in a few days to pick up some stuff she left at our place, though honestly, she left pretty much everything. I didn't ask where she's staying now, I figure she's got friends or folks to help her out. It just stinks that we're not together anymore. I won't be waking up to her every morning, and that hits hard. I hate walking away from relationships, and this one was the best I've ever had, so I'm tore up that it's over. Our talk wasn't easy. She told me she read my first post but skipped the updates cause she already knew what was going on, and frankly, she couldn't stomach reading more after the first one, knowing it was about her. She said seeing my take on it all shook her up bad. It made her face some tough stuff about herself, like how she's just been drifting through life, not doing anything real. She doesn't want to keep leaning on me or her parents anymore. She wants to stand on her own 2 feet first. She also said she's thankful for everything I've done for her and everything I was willing to do down the road. She felt funny saying thanks, but she meant it, and I didn't know what to say back, so I just gave her a smile. Looking back, I probably should have opened my mouth. Turns out, her friends ain't as shallow or rotten as I figured. After the party, they sat her down and told her she needed to make things right with me if she wanted us to last, said she'd crossed a line with what she did. They even brought up how her family's not as well off as theirs, telling her they wouldn't care if she couldn't keep up with their lifestyle. They offered to help her out, but said she's gotta quit making it about pride and trying so hard to fit in, especially now that she's grown. I didn't see that coming, didn't think they'd call her out and actually help, but I'm glad they did, and I guess I misjudged them. Bottom line, we're finished, but at least we left things decent. We hugged it out before splitting up. I held it together while we were there, but once I got back to the office, I had to duck into the bathroom to let it all out. I don't know if we'll ever find our way back to each other, but if we do, I hope it's sooner rather than later, and I hope we get it right next time.